Doesn't it just say everything about what Bill thinks of offense and quarterbacks? He he would never leave himself shorthanded on defense. But at quarterback, the biggest position, he's like, if our quarterback gets hurt and we have a shitty offensive line, which it could happen, doesn't freaking matter. Who cares? Just run a ball. Just run a guy out there who can run around and make plays and do a read option. I mean, like, this is where we are. I mean, if this doesn't tell you how Bill views the game and contrast that to other teams, the best teams in this league, the teams that are competing for Super Bowls year in and year out, I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
The Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Another week, another autopsy, and it's not going to be the best autopsy. I mean, there's really no good autopsy, but this is especially painful the last 3 weeks. We'll get into it. First, I'll tell you that this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, exclusive wagering partner, the CLNS Media Network, and Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. All right, Greg, headlines, top stories. Let's start 30,000 feet looking at this organization and this team. They're 1-5 right now. Your general thoughts?
So, my general thoughts is they are sort of nowhere on offense. The Raiders, we sort of talked last week about how, the first 5 games of the season, they went against a lot of top defenses. And I thought that their opponents sort of made the Patriots offense look worse than it actually was. That with a new coordinator, with their injuries on the offensive line, that they were going to have a tough time in any event, but that they looked pathetic and at the bottom of the league, like one of the league's worst offenses. To me, that was as much about who they were playing and where they were as an offense under a new coordinator and Bill O'Brien. But this game against the Raiders, which, look, they're improving on defense. We know that they have Max Crosby, who's unquestionably one of the best defensive players in the league, a guy that you have to account for with multiple players on every play. That's how good he is. But they don't have Nate Hobbs, their best cornerback. They're not uber talented anywhere. They don't have a very good defensive interior. With Chandler Jones gone, on the other side of Crosby, nobody really dangerous. They have, George Kuntz is, a decent player over there. They have Tyree Wilson, who's a top 10 pick, but feeling his way coming back from offseason injury. And so, look, bottom line was this was not an intimidating defense for the Patriots to go against. And if they were ever going to look capable, this was their opportunity. This was an opportunity for both the offense and Mac Jones to take a step forward. And I just think that didn't happen at all. I mean, did they do some things in the second half? Yeah, they did. They looked a little bit better. They ran the ball a little bit better. Mac made he really didn't make any plays in this game outside of the throw to Devontae Parker that he dropped. And I think it was much of the same. I didn't think that, they talked about quote unquote starting over. I mean, when you come out and you get penalties on the first 2 plays of the game and, you give up a sack and just all sorts of mistakes again, like, where the hell's the starting over? Where was the difference? Where was and considering the opponent, it was even more disappointing. And so, I guess my general thought is, to me, when I looked at this game and I looked at the Patriots offense in particular, because, we don't really worry about the Patriots defense, and we'll get into them, and they have their issues as well. But you could certainly play winning football with the Patriots defense the way that it is. If you get a capable offense, and this offense is just incapable. And to me, the reset for the Patriots offense was, I think Bill Belichick went to Bill O'Brien in their staff meeting on Monday last week and said, look, our offensive line is terrible. Our quarterback is a shell of himself. Figure out a way to move the ball without, stressing either of those 2 things. And I think that's what Bill O'Brien set out to do. I thought he actually did a really good job in this game as far as play calling and setting up and how they needed to play. I did have some issues. Like, I wish he would have run on first down more. He didn't do that till the second half, and finally that's when they started to move the ball. I don't understand that. If I have one criticism of Bill O'Brien, it's he's one of these offensive coordinators, and I think it's a Patriots thing because McDaniels gets like this also, even though in this game he probably ran the ball too much. But, where it's like, well, we have to catch him off guard or we have to do that. Like, no, when just run the ball. I mean, look at where you are as an offense. And so, I thought they changed some things on offense. I think the results were largely the same, and that's disturbing, especially when we start to talk about Mac Jones, because I definitely have some thoughts about him.
Should have run the football more. I agree with you. I don't know how you run the ball 19 times against that Raiders defense. I don't know how you start the third quarter by running the football on first down 4 or 5 times. You drive right down the field and score a touchdown. 5 out of the next 8 first down plays were pass attempts. Doesn't make any sense to me. 2 of the 3 plays that weren't pass attempts on first down and were run plays were like inside the 5. They were goal line runs, which are easy go-tos. No sense to me whatsoever. This team at this point at 1-5, they're not good enough to beat good teams unless good teams lay an egg. That's the only way they're going to be a good team. They beat Buffalo this weekend. It's not because the Patriots figured all this stuff out. It's because Buffalo didn't play well enough. They beat Miami, and Miami 2 weeks from now, same thing. They can beat middling teams. They can beat bad teams. They're along that company. And I'm telling you right now, and I've said this, and I stand by it, the worst possible scenario for this football team is for them to win 6 or 7 games. That is the absolute worst case scenario if you want to try to build this thing and get Belichick out and make some massive, significant changes. You do not want to crawl into purgatory. There's 2 places to be in this league. I've been saying it for the last few years, Greg. You either want to be in the bottom 5 or the top 5, or at least have a chance to be in the top 5. Being stuck in that middle, not where you want to be. So you mentioned the whole starting over stuff. You didn't see too many different things. Let's kind of jump to Belichick, Greg. Just your opinions on Belichick and especially how this game started. I mean, to me, here we go again, right? Like at the beginning of the game, you can't get out of your own way.
Yeah, to me, Nick, just looking at the big picture of where this team is and what they can do and what they can't do, I just think that Belichick's ineffective at coaching this team right now. I don't think, whatever message used to get through, was it mostly because of Brady? Was it mostly because of the success? I mean, they're so far gone from their successful times and the roster turnover that happens. Like, it's a completely different team. It's a completely different mindset. And I just think, to me, the Patriots organization, especially the coaching staff, it always filters down levels. So, Belichick gives the broad strokes and tells everybody, what he wants. And he's watching the team and he's giving them coaching points. And this is what we need to do better and things like that. And then it goes down to the, off the coordinators and then down to the assistant coaches. And I just think, with the mistakes that we've seen, and this is not a small sample size anymore, Nick. I mean, we can go back to since Brady left, but let's just look in the last 13 games, this team is 3-10. And I think, the victories were what, the Cardinals, the Jets this year, and the Dolphins with Skylar Thompson. I mean, to further your point that you talked about who they can beat. I mean, they're 3-10. They've won 3 of their last 13 games. This is not a fluke. This is not about injuries this season. This is not about, Matt Patricia or, what have you. This is about a team. It's about talent, and it's about how I just don't think the coaching is effective anymore. There's no way. I mean, if you looked at in just watching the film of this game, and look, the Raiders certainly made their fair share of mistakes. They were 1-6 in the red zone. A lot of it was their own doing. Kept this score close. The Raiders were in complete control of this game from start to finish.
Yep.
Basically, and they just couldn't. Like, for example, the Jabril Peppers interception with Tavai on Devontae Adams. that's Garoppolo being late with the pass. Like, he was a beat late with the pass. If he makes that pass earlier, Adams probably breaks a tackle and goes in for a touchdown, or at least, they have a first down, what have you. There were just little mistakes like that. But, to me, I thought that the Raiders were the much better coach team in all aspects of this game. And that it's come to this point just tells me that I just think that Belichick as a head coach is just ineffective at this point. It's not about the GM Bill letting down the coach Bill. If he was getting everything out of this roster that he could possibly get, then you would say, oh, it's the GM. I don't know how you feel about it, Nick, but I don't think he's getting everything out of this team. I think they're undisciplined. They make mistakes all the time. It's not just the quarterback. And, to me, you have to point it at Bill, that Bill is responsible largely for a lot of what's going on.
The operation's a mess, and the operation is Bill Belichick's responsibility. And I'm not talking about the operation as far as roster construction. I'm talking about what you just mentioned, Greg. Penalties, the lack of attention to detail, circumstances and situations that should be rather obvious at times seem not obvious to this coach and this coaching staff. Fourth down decisions, the overall philosophy, the lack of aggressiveness. This team has zero identity. That's all in the head coach, all in the head coach. And we play this game of like, okay, well, you're either Team Mac or Team Belichick, whatever the hell game that is. This is not to, here's the disclaimer. Every time I talk about Mac, we have to do it. This is not to absolve Mac of the Dallas game, the New Orleans game. I thought he took some baby steps this past week. They were small baby steps. He still wasn't good enough. He still made 4 or 5 plays that you look at and say, that wasn't good. That the pick was awful. But we've talked about this, and Greg watches the film. He grades these guys out. And the last 3 weeks, Mac has not been good. No doubt about it. But Greg has told you before that Dallas game, as we were leading into the Dallas game, Greg had said, I think it was 7 out of the last 9 or 8 out of the last 10 games or whatever it was, Mac Jones actually had a positive grade from Greg, more positives than negatives in each game. They're 3-10. So even when your quarterback is playing well, even when your quarterback has a great stretch like he had against Philadelphia in the second quarter, even when he's not looking like he's just mentally broken, you're still 3-10. It's the rest of the operation. That if you want to do blame pie is on Belichick for the most part. And again, it's not to absolve the mistakes that Mac has made. The inevitable question is not if Mac is broken, not if Mac is playing like crap, not if Mac is now one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. All of those things are true. The question to me is why? Why and how did Mac get to that point? And I don't think he woke up and just said, I now suck. I am broken. Because he played relatively well at the beginning of the season. Robert Kraft said something in an interview, Greg, that jumped out at you. Now, this interview was recorded back in August, but Kraft said something about Belichick's future during this interview that jumped out. Tell the people why that is.
Yeah, I was going to maybe try to play it, but so it was with David Rubenstein, I think is the name, and so this was just released last week, but it was recorded on August 15th, and the interviewer asked Robert Kraft about Bill Belichick, and how long is he going to keep at it? He's been at it for 24 years, and Kraft basically said, "Well, you'll have to ask him." That basically like he'll decide, when he's done. And I just wanted to get the, I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm just going to,
I can't.
He said, I'll let you ask him. He has to decide what's right for him. So that's the direct quote from Kraft. If that's true, Nick, and I'll be interested in your opinion, I think that's ridiculous. Now, again, look, the context is it was in the middle of August. This is back when Kraft was like, I really like our team. I like how nobody's picking us. Like, I think we have a good team. This is before 1-5 and, with one of the worst offenses in the league. if that's true, then I think it's ridiculous that Bill Belichick gets to write his own ticket when he's done. I don't believe that to be the case. I think this is, to me, Nick, this sort of furthers the conspiracy theory. And this is something that I floated, I don't know, about a year ago when we were looking at 2024 and all the cap space they have, all the decisions they have to make, all the pending free agents that no one is re-signed other than, well, I mean, Devontae Parker and Juwan Bentley. The 5th-year option on Mac Jones, like all that stuff. I can't think that Robert Kraft just is going to let Bill Belichick just coach if he wants to stay until he's 85 and they're losing that's not going to happen. And this would be the 3rd losing season in 4 years. And by the way, I was looking back because somebody was asking me about Shula. Shula had 1 losing season, I think, in his last 19 years. And his last one was 8 years before he got pushed out by Wayne Huizenga. 1. And was 8 years before. Every other year, they were right around 500 or just over. And when he got pushed out, I think they qualified for the playoffs that year, but I might be mistaken on that. To me, this is Kraft and Belichick came to an agreement after last year and all that went wrong. And I do know Kraft was mad. And like if Bill didn't say the right things, then Kraft was ready to part ways, like mutually whatever. That they have an agreement that, all right, fine. You've earned another year. You've earned a mulligan on Matt Patricia. That decision. But if this doesn't go well, then, it might be time. It might be time for you to go do something else or go coach someplace else or something like that. So let's agree to that. We're on a year-to-year basis, but the results matter. And if the results aren't there, then we both know what the conclusion should be on your career here. So to me, I'm hopeful that that's what it was, but certainly a puzzling comment to make by Kraft. Yes, he made it in August, but definitely interesting to be sure.
Couple thoughts. Number one, you can't allow your fear of Bill Belichick to dictate your decisions any longer. People have to stop fearing Belichick and fearing the wrath of Belichick. And they also, there's a point, Greg, where we get to, you can appreciate and respect what Belichick did, from when he joined the organization up until 2019. You can appreciate that. You can give him credit for that. When I look at it, I give Belichick credit for 01, 03, 04 for sure. Those 3 Super Bowls, Brady's still developing. Shrewd decision-making when it came to personnel, putting together a great coaching staff, being on top of the details, having Ernie Adams, all of those things. I also would give Belichick a lot of credit for 2018 in that Super Bowl, because in the middle of the year, it was Belichick and McDaniels getting together and saying, we have to change what we're doing offensively. We've got to change stream. We've got to do something. We've got to be run first. That's what's going to define us. They made that change. And they don't win that Super Bowl unless Belichick completely shuts down and embarrasses Sean McVay. So it's not just, Brady was the only reason Belichick. So you can give him credit. But we also have to look at what's happened since Brady left. And we also have to understand that there's been so many bad decisions. So we can't cover Belichick's ass anymore because of what he did the first 19 years, 20. You just can't do it anymore. That'd be malpractice by Kraft. Secondly, I do wonder, to go along with your conspiracy theory, Gerard Mayo, right? I think people don't want to come out, because if they do, it'll look bad on Kraft and say, well, Kraft told Mayo that he's going to be the next head coach. But to go along with the conspiracy theory, it kind of feels like he did. And if this was, hey, Bill, you got this last year, man. If you go out on top, awesome. You're going to get a statue anyway. You're going to be a hero anyway. This isn't going well. Mayo is ready to take the keys. It. He's young enough. He wants to do it. We don't want to lose him. So I think that conversation, did it happen? I don't know for a fact. I'm not reporting this. But it would seem to make a lot of sense that Kraft went to Mayo and said, man, Just wait one more year. I've had the conversation with Bill. We're moving forward without him in the next year or so. You're our next guy. Just stay and be here. And we're going to give you the keys to the castle. Just believe us. That's what would make sense to me.
I completely agree with you. I think that, when Mayo turned down head coaching opportunities to interview, that was a big tell. You don't do that unless you're promised something. And to me, he is the coach in waiting. And Nick, the big thing is, and we're going to have months to talk about this, the way the season is going, and Buffalo next up, and then Miami. So they're staring at 1-7 in the face. It's, what does it look like? Okay, so maybe it is Mayo, and from people that I talked to, there are some definite Mayo, and we've talked about it before. Mayo is basically, the Crafts look at Mayo as sort of like Belichick, but just updated firmware, where he can, think analytically, and is willing to take some bigger swings personnel wise, and spend some money, and not be so adherent to, I don't want any player making more than I do at $20 million a year, or stuff like that. But the big thing is like, if they do that, if it is Mayo, they can't just take Belichick out and keep everything in place. Like, that's not going to go over well with the fan base. That is just, Mayo's the head coach, Steve Belichick's the defensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien's the offensive coordinator, Matt Groh's running personnel. That it's everything except Belichick is out. I don't think that's going to satisfy anybody, and I don't think that's the direction that they should go. If it's Mayo, if they believe in his vision for the franchise in the next 10 years, let him shape the franchise in the vision that he wants. And if that means wholesale changes on the coaching staff, in the front office, then so be it. But, you just can't just take out Belichick and say, oh, well, everything's okay. I don't think that's good enough. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. I love those little suckers, those little bonus bets. It's like free money. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. What if there was an app that used AI and machine learning to suggest smart sports bets? There is, and it's called Odds Are. It is a mobile app you need to know what bets of the day are smart ones. Download the app, sign up for an account, and let the latest data analysis guide you through today's point spreads, money lines, and over-unders. I just did it. It's easy. If you see green, that's a smart bet. If you see yellow, you're on your own. If you see red, don't do it. Odds Are doesn't take your bet, it makes you better at it. With Odds Are on your mobile phone, you're a tap away from making a smart play. It's smart betting made simple. Find Odds Are app in the App Store or on Google Play. Get a 2 free week trial. It's just $10 a month after that. But hey, listen to that. That's for the usual people, the normal people. Listeners to this podcast, the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast, you actually get a special deal. Get your first 30 days of the app free. Just go to oddsr.com/Bedard to download the app. That's oddsr.com/Bedard. 30 days of smarter betting free. We'd call that a winning bet. The casinos and sportsbook want you to bet. Odds Are wants you to win. Go get it.
Patriots offense, Greg, let's jump to this game now against the Raiders. First of all, what in the blue hell was going on with that quarterback situation?
Yeah, good question. I don't know for sure, but first of all, the biggest thing is it's about, Belichick and his roster management, because God forbid they don't have a backup gunner ready to go in this game, where I think there was like one kick. Let's see. There was one punt return by the Raiders, and there was one kickoff return by the Patriots. So there were 3 kick returns in this game. So Cunningham has the ability to cover kicks. There were a lot of injuries, as Belichick said. So to me, this was about roster management. They were trying to steal a roster spot at quarterback. That's how ridiculous this operation is at this point. And to me, what it also said was they hate Bailey Zappi. They think he is terrible. They thought what he did in the fourth quarter of the previous 2 games was god-awful, which it was, especially this last game when he had an opportunity to go in. And they were like, what the hell is the point? If Bailey is so bad, if Mac gets hurt or if it's a blowout again and we got to put somebody in, we might as well put Malik Cunningham, who knows nothing about playing quarterback in this system, and just call a couple simple run plays, a couple read option plays, and let him run around. We have a chance to be much more productive if we do that than if we put Bailey Zappi in. So to me, that's what it was about.
It can wipe off the old Jacoby Brissett versus Texans game plan if Mac goes down. Before we get into Mac, because we're going to get into him, I really hope people are appreciating this. You drafted a quarterback in the first round. You've completely mishandled him to the point now where he's looked broken. And you have no backup plan. You've mishandled the first round quarterback to the point he's broken. And your backup plan on Sunday was an undrafted free agent who has been practicing as a wide receiver. Think about that.
He didn't even warm up at quarterback before the game. He warmed up at wide receiver. He didn't even take any throws to get his arm warm if he had to throw.
I mean, that's all you need to know. The quarterback position is the most crucial position in all of sports. It is the one that you cannot mishandle as a GM or as a head coach. You cannot mishandle that position. And Belichick has fumbled that position so badly, whether you like Mac, hate Mac, whatever. He's ruined Mac from being at least average quarterback to being a puddle for the most part. And then an undrafted free agent wide receiver is your backup quarterback. That's where we're at, folks.
Doesn't it just say everything about what Bill thinks of offense and quarterbacks? He would never leave himself shorthanded on defense. But at quarterback, the biggest position, he's like, if our quarterback gets hurt and we have a shitty offensive line, which it could happen, doesn't freaking matter. Who cares? Just run a ball. Just run a guy out there who can run around and make plays and do a read option. I mean, like, this is where we are. I mean, if this doesn't tell you how Bill views the game, and contrast that to other teams, the best teams in this league, the teams that are competing for Super Bowls year in and year out. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
All right, Mac, give me a quick thought on Mac. What'd you say?
I thought he was bad in this game. I really did. I did not have a positive play for him until the throw to Devontae Parker, which granted was unbelievable. I mean, he was not open. Mac threw him open. He put it right where he had to with the game on the line. And of course, this can further go to, you can put this back into your Mac files that you brought out earlier this year, Nick, in terms of, lack of fourth quarter comebacks and stuff like that. You could put, it doinked off Devontae Parker's hands, which they would have had the ball at the Raiders.
No, Greg, it wasn't off his hands. It was off his fingertips, according to Devontae.
That's right. Yeah. What'd you see? So
next.
Look, here's the thing with Mac. And I do still believe, and people can roll their eyes, but I've been covering this league long enough. I've covered all sorts of different quarterbacks. Quarterback pressure is real, and the accumulation of pressure is real. The effect that it has on especially pocket quarterbacks is real. And Mac is still in the sort of PTSD stage as far as pressure, to the point where pressure wasn't really that much of an issue in this game. For the first time, I think, all season, or at least since week 1 against the Eagles, it was below 40%. I think I had it at 38%, even as bad as Vidarian Lowe and Antonio Mafi were. Pressure wasn't a huge deal. Here's here's my issue with Mac at this point. And to me, I think there was enough on film in this game. And you look at the way Bill O'Brien game plan this game. I mean, there were barely any throws downfield. Now, there were opportunities to throw downfield that Mac didn't take. So it wasn't completely dink and dunk, but it was mostly dink and dunk. I mean, most of his passes were within 10 yards or behind the line of scrimmage. And to me, it was around the offensive line and Max Crosby, but it was also about Mac, that they wanted to get rid of the ball as soon as possible. They think at this point he's so shell-shocked that the longer the play goes, the worse it can go for the team. And, look at his interception, for evidence of that. But to me, the bigger issue Nick, and where he is, and maybe he's in the process of settling down a little bit more. And we'll have to see whether he starts against the Bills and whether that continues. Because you don't just flip a switch and say, okay, a quarterback who's been sped up is going to slow down. That doesn't happen. You have to build to that. And right. But to me, the biggest issues that I had with Mac is that he left plays on the field. His eyes aren't in the right places on plays. For example, in the first quarter, the 3rd and 7, which was the Adam Butler sack, I put half the sack on Mac and half on Antonio Mafi for not reacting to the stunt well enough, which is a huge problem for him. But so what happens after the snap, Mac is locked into Hunter Henry and Kendrick Bourne in the middle of the field. The problem is that there are 4 Raiders around him. So he should have seen that from the beginning. And he also should have known, Josh McDaniels and Patrick Graham, they kind of know us. They're probably going to take away what we want to do. And so, but what Max should have done was look and say, all right, we don't have the numbers, and then quickly went backside. Devontae Parker is coming on an in cut. It was there. And Mac didn't make the throw. He took a sack. He was staring at the middle of the field. He's doing that more and more. It happens all the time. There was, in the second quarter, Mac Jones checked it down to Ramondre Stevenson on 1st and 10 for 4 yards. Bill O'Brien had a great call. He figured the Raiders would be in Tampa 2 coverage. They were in Tampa 2 coverage. He had a beater called, and he had Kendrick Bourne on the left sideline with his hand up, but Mac never looked over there. His eyes aren't in the right place. That happens all the time. You have the interception. If people want to look, I have a thorough breakdown on BSJ on all my minus plays for Mac, what went wrong. I also have video that you can watch. There were also third quarter, 3rd and 8, Mac Jones pass incomplete, short left to Hunter Henry. I think that was when he was well covered. Again, Mac gets locked into Hunter Henry. He's just staring at him. It's not there where Bourne is open. He's wide open in the middle of the field. Why is Mac staying locked? This is not Mac. This is not the Mac Jones that I know. This is not the Mac Jones from his rookie year. He is getting locked into things. His eyes aren't in the right place. This happens over and over again. There was the deep shot to Tyquan Thornton. That was a balloon ball 10 feet out of bounds. It wasn't even close. And that's a ball you need to throw up. And by the way, Tyquan Thornton's speed was real on film. There's definitely something there, but I don't know if Mac can throw it to him. That's how fast he is and the issues with Mac right now. The Ty Montgomery, where Ty Montgomery caught the ball, but it should have been picked off by the Raiders in the red zone. Mike Gesicki's wide open in the middle of the field. His eyes just aren't in the right place. And to me, watching this film, if Bill O'Brien and Bill Belichick went back and if they said, yeah, that's it. It's not getting any better. He had the opportunity to make plays in this game. He's not making any plays. What are we doing here? This game plan is so simple at this point that whether it's Bailey Zappi or Will Grier, they can do it. To me, it's just a matter of time that Mac's on a 1 game sort of contract. Let's see how it looks this week. If they send him to the bench this week, it would not surprise me in the least. But if he gets another chance, okay. But as far as what's next, and I know people are taking my quotes out of context and things like that. Bailey Zappi does not have much support in the building. Now, some of his support, like say from Joe Judge, might be influential over Bill Belichick because he's assistant head coach. I don't know. I would say that there are, from my discussions, there are more people who want to see what Will Grier can do, who got an increase in practice reps this week. So if I had to guess, I think that Will Grier would get the next opportunity. Is he quite ready? Probably not. But I think, like I said, I think Mac's on a week-to-week basis at this point, and the film in this game was not good enough and is evidence, if they want it, to move on from him and do something different.
I think you've got to keep him in for as long as you can keep him in. And I say that because this is about 2024 now. And whether you want to keep Mac or not keep Mac getting benched or Mac, continuing to just look god awful is really a bad scenario for this team in the long term. And not even if you don't believe in Mac Jones, because what you want is you want to try to rebuild his value. And because right now, if you traded him, you might get like a 5th round pick for Mac. Trey Lance went for a 4th, and that guy played a handful of games in 5 years. So you might get a 4th. But here's the thing. If you believe that he's capable of taking the baby steps and getting not back to what he was at the beginning of the year, but if you can get him through the next couple of games and the schedule softens and he plays like at least a decent NFL quarterback, that will raise his value because other teams will look at him and say, you know what? He wasn't going to get much more out of that system with how it was run and with the lack of talent. So you might get a team willing to give up a 2nd or 3rd round pick this offseason if you can rebuild his value. If you shut him down, you shut him down. That's it. And his value doesn't go up, it doesn't go down. It's just, it is what it is right now. And then people look at him as a reclamation project. So I understand, and I can't debate people that want to shut him down now. If that's what you want, that's what you want. Okay, I get it. But if you're looking at the big picture and trying to set this team up to be as good as it can be in 2024, even if Mac is not part of the picture long-term, and even in 2024, the best thing you can do is try to rebuild some of that value so you can get a better draft asset, more draft capital out of the guy you picked in the 1st round a couple of years ago. So unless you're absolutely sure that Will Grier is an upgrade, yeah, you keep throwing Mac out there. If he flames out, you lose more games. He flames out, whatever. But you're taking a shot that he can slowly kind of get back and rebuild. And if you're at the end of 2023 saying, man, that was a shitty season, but the quarterback is not a lost cause, you're better off than saying everything sucks, everything was shitty, the quarterback is done. So I think you have to, even in the long term, even if you don't want him, you've got to try to repair that so you can get something for him this offseason.
With the busy fall season already in swing, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you fuel up fast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with shelf-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle. Too busy to cook this fall, but want to make sure you're eating well? With Factor, skip the extra trip to the grocery store and the chopping and prepping and cleaning too, while you're still getting the flavor and nutritional quality you need. I got to say something. The flavor is so on point with these meals, whether I had like this, barbecue chicken thing, and my wife, like we all, the number one thing when I would ask my wife about like, what do you think about that? She's like, the flavor is awesome. And I'm telling you, it comes right to your door. I love the shipping. This October, get Factor and enjoy eating well without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door. Ready in just 2 minutes. No prep, no mess. I'm telling you, you guys are going to love this. Head to factormeals.com/Bedard50 or use code Bedard50 to get 50% off. That's code Bedard50 at Factor.
All right, Greg, quickly, before we get to 3 up, 3 down, Josh McDaniels versus Steve Belichick. Who won?
I thought Josh McDaniels clearly won. I mean, you look at especially their early 3rd down success. This was, to me, on film, McDaniels and Garoppolo anticipating exactly what the Patriots were going to do as far as bringing pressure and how they're going to play coverage. Like, every time it seemed like they had an answer for what the Raiders were going to do. And, that the Raiders were running as many plays that they did. I was watching the film. I was like, oh my God, it's just turned to the second quarter. Like they're on the field forever. And if that receiver doesn't drop that pass on third down, the Raiders are off to the races. And I just thought that, again, the pass rush was pretty much non-existent in this game. And the Patriots, again, blitzed more than they usually. I've never seen a Patriots defense blitz as much as they have this season, which sort of tells you where they are. And I thought Garoppolo, for as jittery as he is, looked pretty comfortable in the pocket. They had a good plan against Devontae Adams, but it looked like the Raiders went in like, look, we know they're going to take Devontae away, and they're going to selectively, double Jacoby Myers at times. And, we have to have answers, and Meyer was an answer. That was McDaniels anticipating what they were going to do. And I just thought, I didn't think that the Patriots ever made the Raiders uncomfortable in this game. Yes, the points weren't there, and some people will point to bend but don't break. But again, I think that's another thing that's a sort of ancient sort of tactic in today's game. Bend but don't break. I just think those yards, I think that time on the field, it accumulates. And, I thought that, I thought they did some good things up front. I thought they did a good job against the Raiders running game. I like we talked about last week, I hate the Raiders guards, and they, especially Christian Barmore, completely own the matchup against those guys. And so that helped control the running game. Peppers was a beast, but I thought there were issues, big issues in the secondary. Again, I thought J.C. Jackson was an issue. That was a legit DPI. He tugged the guy's jersey. That's going to get called. That's what he does. That play, as much as anything, probably cost the Patriots a chance to win this game. And it can't happen. And he had other coverage issues. Remember last week, Nick, we talked about how he had a coverage bust when he was playing man-to-man and everybody else was playing cover 3. He had the exact same bust again, leaving Devontae Adams wide open, but Jimmy Garoppolo just didn't see him. And there's a lot of that stuff going on. The touchdown to Jacoby Myers was a complete cluster bleep on the part of the defense.
You don't like the let's defend Michael Mayer with 5 guys. You didn't like that defense.
That was unbelievable. And to me, that was either, I think it was Kyle Duggar. It could have been Jabril Peppers, but I think that is Kyle Duggar getting exposed again. I think he was supposed to rotate and be the middle of the field safety. Miles Bryant is playing for help, and there's no help there. And so they just have those miscues as well on defense that just, cost them big time in these games when they do keep it close. And so, to me, the Raiders were very comfortable on offense. McDaniels knew exactly what they were going to do. They had no problem with it. And really the Raiders, only opponent in this game as far as their offense was their own mistakes. And they made a lot of mistakes. That's where they are. They're just not that good. And thank goodness for that, or we could have been looking at another blowout in this game.
Yeah, bend, don't break. Patriots defense bent, Raiders offense broke in the red zone. And heading into this game, they were, 20th, I think, in the league in red zone offense. And that was only because they converted a couple against Green Bay. Before that Green Bay game, they were one of the worst red zone offenses in the league. The holding, the dropped pass on that first drive led to the field goal. Then you had another hold on Mumford when they were about to walk into the end zone. So I think this defense was not nearly as good as people thought it might have been if you look at the final score. They allowed 5 out of the first 7 third downs to be converted. Raiders were 29th in the league, third down offense entering the game. They couldn't get him off the field. Michael Mayer, love him, Notre Dame fan. Told you he's good. But Michael Mayer single-handedly kills you on 3 third downs to start the game. Blown coverage for the Myers touchdown. Just no pass rush. Just not. And look, the pass rush. Uche is banged up, limited. Keon White got concussed at the beginning of the game. You don't have Judon. I get it. Injuries have something to do with this, but I'm just telling you the results. the defense is not as good as you thought it was on Sunday. That's what I will say. All right, before we get to 3 Up, 3 Down, check them out over at BSJ. Bedard, Giardi tag teaming on the Patriots with film and all that good stuff. Also, Hags joined the crew yesterday. That was announced. So Haggerty is part of the crew writing Bruin stuff on BSJ. So you want to check them out as well. I believe there's some kind of a special, right, Greg, with Haggerty?
Yeah, if you go there, and also for our Celtics coverage to kick off the season, either Celtics 23 or Hags gets you 20% off the annual rate.
So there you go. I also remind all of you, episode brought to you by FanDuel, exclusive wagering partner, CLNS Media Network. New customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Quick, lightning version of 3 Up, 3 Down, Greg. 3 Up, let's start positive.
Christian Barmore. I thought this was one of his best games as a Patriot. He was tremendous in this game. Kendrick Bourne, while, a lot of outside of the 36-yard pickup, it wasn't anything out of the ordinary. But, I mean, look, where they are with an offense to be that productive is tremendous. And, let's give a nod to Jabril Peppers for that ridiculous hit and causing an interception, which, bailed out the defense again. They actually made a play, but I think that was actually more Jimmy Garoppolo being late with the ball with anything. But, it's what he does is real. And thank God that somebody made a play on that defense.
I love Peppers, man. I know he'll mess up from time to time, but I love that guy. I thought Tavai and Jennings were good on the edge against the run. Thought they played pretty well. I think Jennings made a number of plays for a guy that hasn't played a ton of snaps, throughout his career. When he's been given the opportunity, he's handled himself pretty well. I also give credit to Ezekiel Elliott. I thought Zeke showed some pop, and I don't know why. I don't know why Zeke had 7 carries in this game. Again, I think that's play calling malpractice by Bill O'Brien. So I'll mention Zeke as well. 3 down, Greg.
Yeah, by the way, on Zeke, I just want to say that to me, he's their best offensive player right now. And while I'm a Ramondre Stevenson guy, there comes a time when you need to make a decision. And I think that Zeke deserves to be the lead back, and they need to feed him. And that looks good. That's one thing that looks good on offense.
Can I just say this quick? Hold on, before 3 down. I want people to absorb what Greg just said. Your best offensive player is the guy that was signed in August?
Straight off the couch.
That's your best offensive player right now. All right, 3 down, Greg.
Mac Jones, we talked about him. Vidarian Lowe gave up, I think, 7 total quarterback pressures. He was put in a tough spot. He was on an island against Max Crosby a lot. No good. I also, Antonio Mafi was terrible. I also want to mention J.C. Jackson. He was awful. And I also want to mention Devontae Parker for that ridiculous 3rd down route. We just have all day, Devontae. Take your time. Just stop in the middle of the route on 3rd down if you want to. There's not a football game going on here or anything. And the drop and his post-game press conference, it's just a joke. Him and Juju need to go. Can you trade them somewhere, get some used footballs? Come on. I'm sick of watching this stuff.
Dude hopscotched into his route. Literally was playing hopscotch into whatever route he was running. Disaster. I'm done with Devontae Parker. I'm done with Juju. I'm done with those guys. Kayshon Boutte, he might not be able to get both feet in bounds, but at least he catches the freaking ball. Put Boutte out there, give him a shot. He should have been active on Sunday. Give me a break with this. Give me Bill, you were wrong. You were wrong on Parker. You were wrong on Juju. Mike Gesicki, ass over tea kettle, trying to block Max Crosby on the final snap of the game offensively. What are we doing? We'll be back. We'll be back later in the week to preview Buffalo, because I'm sure we're going to be very optimistic to say that things going to get better with Buffalo coming to town. Until then, he's Greg and I'm Nick.
The CLNS Media Network is powered by FanDuel. Sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston and get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose.